This is Bob Lazar. He is described as an American conspiracy theorist and also a liar and a criminal. You be the judge. Hey everyone, welcome to Hey It's a Great Life. Today we're going to look at the man who claims he back-engineered alien spacecraft for the US government. Bob Lazar has been noted as making some of the most outright unbelievable claims. If you can believe what Lazar says, then it could change the way you think about everything. It was his information that put Area 51 in the limelight to begin with. UFOs and alien life were both popular topics prior to Lazar. However, his stories have given steam to conspiracy theorists for decades. In 1989, Bob Lazar went public with a story that, if it were true, would be one of the most shocking tales of all time. According to Lazar, he started working for the Air Force in 1980 at a base near Area 51 called S4. It was during his time here when Bob witnessed and worked on some pretty amazing technology. Lazar's job description was to reverse engineer extraterrestrial spacecraft. He was given a collection of documents regarding the craft that he was studying. The specific craft that Lazar was working on was allegedly a part of an archaeological dig. That's right, he's talking ancient aliens. At S4, scientists were split into research groups based upon their area of study in regards to the craft. For example, Bob was in a propulsion group and studied just propulsion. Other researchers studied flight controls or navigation or lift or any of the other matter of technologies. Lazar recounted what he saw at S4 detailing the craft he worked on. It was propelled using artificial gravity. It created its own gravitational field and bent the space in front of the vehicle. I will now quote Bob's exact words. "Look, a machine that makes gravity is the most important thing that mankind could probably create. Look, we have magnets that make magnetic fields. We can make electric fields, with generators and God knows what else. But to make a gravitational field, it's like the last piece of a missing pie. Right now, the only thing that makes gravity, as far as we know, is mass. You just need a bunch of stuff, and it's a property of mass that it just magically pulls in things. We observe gravity, we see what it does, but we really don't know what it is. We can throw some equations together and say, well, it works like this, but we really don't know what's behind it. But if you can make a machine that on demand makes gravity, all the stuff we write science fiction about stops becoming science fiction that afternoon. And force fields become a reality. You can shift time because gravity bends space and time. Everything becomes possible. It's the most important thing. You can have propulsion that is mind-boggling. As the crafts operate, it would be the ultimate weapon. Not just the ultimate weapon, but it would really be the ultimate thing. It would catapult mankind forward. And what really sucks is the military is in control of this. The military apparently is also in possession of actual ETs. In his first interview from 1989, Lazar claims he witnessed, just for a split second, two scientists working with a small gray being. He later recanted his statement and says it was probably just a doll scientists were trying to fit into a seating configuration. You can be the judge. Bob found out that the Air Force would test their re-engineered craft over Groom Lake in the middle of the night, so he invited his friends to come out to the desert and watch the show. After a few of these trips, Lazar was caught by police, and once his employer learned of the UFO watch parties, that was the end of his employment. Not long after, Bob was terminated from the Air Force. He went to a local CBS affiliate in Las Vegas, where he was interviewed by reporter George Knapp. It was in this interview when Lazar provided information about what he experienced at Area 51 for the first time. When trying to legitimize the claims made by Bob Lazar, a few things stand out. First, prior to Bob Lazar going public with information about Area 51, the public had no knowledge of the secret testing that occurred at the base. It was his claims that brought it to the attention that it receives today. Remarkably, it has been disclosed that secret projects have been tested at the base and have led to aircraft like the stealth bomber. Second, Lazar claimed to have used a very unique security access system to gain access to the base. Bob's account describes a hand sensor that analyzes the bone density of an individual to identify them. The Air Force disclosed that such scanners were in use at Lazar's alleged time of employment. At the time of Bob's initial interview, there was no public knowledge of such technology. The most interesting proof for the legitimacy of the claims of Lazar is element 115. He talks about a core piece of the propulsion system on the craft he was studying called element 115. This element has a seat on the periodic table of elements and is now known as muscovium. Russian scientists synthesized element 115 in a lab in 2003 and gave it its name. This element was unknown until 2003, 14 years after Lazar claimed to be researching the element for the US military. There is some pretty compelling evidence to show that Lazar was telling the truth about his experiences at Area 51. On the other hand, there is some equally compelling evidence that Bob is fabricating the entire story. First, Bob seems to have some difficulty keeping his story straight. Between his first set of appearances and his second set, there are some details that have changed in his story. Originally, Bob claimed that he saw a live alien being interrogated by a couple of agents. Later, Bob said he saw a mannequin that was made to look like what the aliens might have looked like. Lazar also claimed to have a rather impressive educational and professional background. However, when checking with his past employers and schools, there is no record of him ever being there, the only exception to this being the Air Force. While the military organization does deny that he was ever on their payroll, there are in circulation employee phone books that include Lazar and his contact information from the time. A group of behavioral analysts studied Bob's body language in his interviews and determined he was lying. Bob Lazar's story is phenomenal, to say the least. If it were true, it not only changes history, it changes the future, and even changes today. It could be the most monumental discovery in human history. However, due to the nature of the story, we can't yet know for sure. There is ample evidence to either believe or choose not to believe the stories put forth by Lazar. So the question remains, do you believe Bob Lazar? Leave a comment below. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button.